thing on there.
I just go to, this is the whole commercial thing, right?
We're live.
Yes. Upgrade. They ain't messing with you, sis. You be over there. You be messing with the technology. They ain't messing with you. They ain't got nothing to offer you, sis.
Here at ADDITIVE, we assist our participants in recognizing the power of their voices and the value of their lives through mentoring. ADDITIVE Minis focuses on young ladies ages 7 to 12. We have proudly partnered with our former ADDITIVE mentee, Takina Sturdivant, and her program, Dare University, which assists young ladies ages 13 to 18 in transitioning into college. Our other partners include nationally known Girls Inc. and the Rutgers Women's Law Caucus. Then we have She Cares, which is our women's empowerment program. We also have a 5-week trauma healing program, as well as other pop-up workshops this summer. So please join us here at the ADDITIVE Family Life Center. It's a safe place for children and their families to grow together. I dare you to care. It does matter.
The calling of Dare to Dance is to provide the City of Camden with a heightened education in dance. We seek to incite growth within individuals via learned values throughout a student's education that will carry them to the next level personally and professionally. Dare to Dance is a 10-month program that runs from September to June. With each class meeting once a week, our stars ranging from ages 3 to 18 learn various techniques such as ballet, tap, jazz, hip-hop, and modern. Stars learn terminology and choreography as well as dance history. We also offer master classes for our students and the public. It is one of our many goals to not only raise great dancers, but even greater human beings. We pride on our motto, Dare to Dance, Give Back, and Make a Difference. Dare to Flip is a new gymnastics program that is dedicated to enriching lives and improving the health of our students. Committed to and encouraging traditional values familiar with the sport such as strength, flexibility, self-confidence, independence, and sportsmanship. Dare to Flip consists of 5 sessions in our season running from July to May. Training is available for stars ages 5 to 18. We offer parent and me classes for ages 3 and 4, private classes for all ages, and we host cheer camps as well. We are excited to bring gymnastics to the City of Camden, and we dare you to flip, tumble, and soar.
Peace. So now we're in collab. Collab is a vital part of the mission because it gets to the core of what we believe in and what we feel our purpose is in our community. So first of all, the acronym stands for Camden Youth Leadership Advisory Board. Our principles are based around the principles of the God energy, and the God energy being surrounded by spirit, mental, emotional, and physical. We created an equivalent to that in our classes to teach upon, and the equivalents we came up with law, ownership, knowledge of self, and community. So based upon these 4 principles is how we approach enlightening and educating the young brothers and sisters within our community to get to a freer place and an independent place so that they can feel their purpose in life. Collab. So now we're in WCMV Radio, which is an internet-based, community-based station. Here we come together to educate, entertain, and enlighten our community, for our community, and about our community. Our goals and objective is to create a media hub where we teach each other and feed each other information to acquire our freedom, justice, and equality. So we're coming together as a people to advance ourselves and our culture. So we hope that everybody feed in and participate as we move forward. Street Journal will be a publication that's released quarterly, but we also will release it monthly on the internet. In addition to the print media under Street Journal, We also wrote books, The Journey by Anthony Wade and Urbanomics by Anthony Wade. Both of them, again, we use a print to communicate with our community on where we think our future should go and what we think the tomorrow look like. And we seek input from the community to get to a further truth. So briefly, let me share. So people count print out and find print media has shrunken in its usage, but we seeking to bring print media together with the digital world. So in that space, we also have a scan bar. Once we scan this, when you buy the book, you also will get the classes from Collab on law, ownership, leadership, and community. So print media is live and well in Camden, New Jersey as we push forward. Derek Cat, the golden objective 30 years ago was to bring about change in our community. And taking it in that space of being gangsters and gangs or whatever the ills was to being entrepreneurs, fathers, and community leaders. So today I bring it all together to you to say, come join us, come be a part of, let us support you, come support those in this space so that we can advance our community.
All right. Here we are. It's me, Janny Schmanny. I'm here with my girl, Janika Quinones, the Mogul Queen. How are you today? How are you today?
Yes. You already know Mogul in the building.
Mogul in the
Jen
building.
in the building. And as always, we have
right.
so much to say, so much information to bring, highlighting as always. So get in, grab some popcorn, a drink.
Right. We got a good
sit
show
in front of this
today.
phone, your phone, tablet, computer, however you need. Yes,
But
however
anyway,
you need.
Yeah.
Get it ready because you're going to need it for the show today.
That's right.
It's so much information as always. We thank y'all so much for tuning
somewhere.
in. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So what we got today is, we're dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of stress, a lot of different personalities and things like that. And it all works on your head, okay, on your brain. And I just want to say that, let y'all know, this blocking your face. There we go. This isn't she pretty? But anyway, I just want to let y'all know that all my stuff is textbook. Okay, she the one that studied things and has a degree. I'm textbook. I learn as I go. You know what I mean on this subject, and I was reading it, and it all intertwined in what she's standing for today. You know what I mean? So I wanted to get into this, and so that we could talk about it and see how it all relates. And then after that, we're gonna bring in expert counselor that's gonna talk to us more about addictions. So I want to talk about the addictive personality. I have one. A lot of us have it. So we're going to try to learn and define what addictive personality is and what it comes from. Okay. Let me move over here because, okay, shout out to our viewers, Karen Lee and Crockett's on. They're from the UK. So we have viewers from all over. We're happy.
Welcome.
You know what I mean?
Thanks for tuning in.
And we know the weather has been wishy-washy. You know what I mean? We usually have live audience going on, with our red carpet interviews and what have you. So back to addictive personality. Addictive personality is a personality that is more likely to become addicted to something. This can include someone becoming extremely passionate about something and developing an obsession or fixation, like an inability to sleep. Mm-hmm. changes in the mood, appetite, continuing despite negative consequences, just doing stuff, denial,
Right.
engaging in risky behaviors, feeling preoccupied with the substance or behavior, legal and financial problems,
Mm-hmm.
losing interest in other things you used to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that relate? That relates to brain.
Yes.
Something's wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Something that actually is wrong with the brain. It goes on to say that addiction is complex, chronic brain condition influenced by genes and the environment that is characterized by substance use or compulsive actions that continue despite harmful consequences. For a long time, addiction, meant an uncomfortable habit of using alcohol or other drugs, but it's more than that. The concept of addiction has expanded to include behaviors such as gambling, you know, as well as the substances and ordinary and necessary activities such as exercising,
Anything that
eating.
comforts the mind, anything that comforts your mental, keeps you calm as you can be. That's all addictive. That's why they say, like, even people, and I'm definitely testifying to this, that when my mind is altered, my brain is altered, and I'm going through those situations, I run to basically like a eating. Like, I need a snack on something. Oh my God, like, I feel like that's gonna calm me. Like, it's became an addiction. Like,
Addiction.
hold on, let me get something to snack on because I feel like I could cope better. It became a coping mechanism. So, addiction is a coping mechanism. Anything that makes your brain or makes your mind find something that needs to cope. That's why a lot of people, they say, oh, to relieve your stress, come to the gym. Yeah, because it's a coping mechanism. You're going to cope with it at the gym. You're going to burn off some, them extra steams that you have going on, and some people become very addicted to it. That's how we got the weightlifters and all that, because they become addicted to it.
Yeah. So addiction is a chronic brain disease that's more about the neurology of the brain than the outward manifestations of behavioral problems and poor choices, according to a group of addiction medicine professionals. In April 2011, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, they're calling it ASAM, released its new definition of addiction, which for the first time extends addiction to include behaviors other than problematic substance abuse. A group of 80 addiction experts worked for 4 years to arrive at a new definition of addiction and concluded that addiction is about the underlying neurology of the brain, not about outward behavior. Addiction affects your brain's reward, motivation, memory, and related circuitry to the extent that your motivations are altered so that your addictive behaviors replace healthy self-care behaviors. Yeah, you know what I mean? Your brain, like with this, I don't know the cause, but sure is we see the effects. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we get ready to get into it,
So, but you remember when we did this at the seminar?
Yeah.
Remember, like that what is it? Non-physical blunt force trauma to the brain. Something impacts it very fast. Right. So trauma happens at a speed of lightning, right? Because it's like you're not looking forward to trauma happening, and when it happens so fast that it shocks your brain cells. And remember, it starts to cause them to degenerate. Remember that it was an argument.
That addiction was a part of this. That's
well,
why
remember we said. Remember,
I gotta bring this to her.
I remember it was just one of them situations that I didn't get to finish the seminar because I didn't know how long I would be on the platform. It was my first seminar.
Right.
Just bringing traumatic brain injury awareness and bringing trauma care awareness to the same platform, because they do both entail the same thing. There are so similar. The altered brain injury is the same as what happens when you go through trauma. So we learned that in trauma and in traumatic brain injury, that there are 5 things that happen before we even come to the conclusion that we went through trauma.
Yeah.
5 things that could be easily misdiagnosed or undiagnosed before we even realize that we went through trauma. Then after that, we learned that it was 3 diagnoses that come out of trauma, including the 4th one, which is the altered brain injury. So we learned 4 different components of diagnoses that come out of trauma, but we already have 5 things that could happen before we even get diagnosed with trauma. So it gets already complex. There is 5 things, which one of them is anxiety, panic attacks, depression. You get all this before we realize that we even could have chronic PTSD, complex PTSD, conditioned PTSD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. We learned all of that.
They're not even thinking that your drunk uncle
so now
has brain trauma.
Now when you diagnose with these things, you have now a mental impairment. Remember, we went to the mental. We was going to the mental impairment. You diagnose with these things, you have a mental impairment. But now remember, my next seminar is going to be mental impairment versus abnormal use. Abnormal use is increased sexual desires, alcoholism, drug addictions, personality disorders, absent personality, because sometimes people can't define themselves. Some people might not even know who they are after trauma.
Well, they know it now, because that's why I'm bringing it to them like that. So in order to get people to come and get help, they have to know what they're dealing with. So we never knew that this. So it says that the brain's reward system is also altered in such a way that the memory of previous rewards, be it food, sex, or drugs, can trigger a biological and behavior response to engage in that addictive behavior again. That means you're hooked in spite of negative consequences, no matter what. And sometimes, even though you no longer even find pleasure in the activity, you're just doing it. It's impulse, So your impulse control is altered.
Yes, sir.
It affects the frontal cortex of your brain in such a way as to alter your impulse control and your judgment. The frontal cortex is involved in inhibiting impulsivity and delaying gratification. So it's saying, let's get it done. Let's do it. And then you don't reach a climax. Put it that way. You know what I mean?
It's like your brain going like this. Your brain going like this.
Right.
And then next thing you know, start doing addictions. It goes slower and slower and slower. And then it comes down and it goes so slow. All it's looking for is for the addiction. It's moving so slow that at this point it's a pulse in looking for the addiction. And it's just only looking for the addiction. It's not looking for anything else. You don't matter no more. Nothing around you matters no more. Nothing could ever matter but the addiction, because your brain cell done slow down. That rapid wave done slow down so significantly that it's just going around in a circle. All it can think about is the one thing. And it's a wavering thing, because it's only the one thing. And then you be like, I don't understand how they can't get off of it. Oh, they could get off of it if they want to. How? If the brain is slowed down so significantly, and it then block the trauma on top of it, like it then block that cortex, that it's just going straight to that.
The judgment is clouded.
So it's just going straight to that. And to the point where, like I said, they lose themselves. They don't
Judgment is
they,
clouded.
They don't even really think of what's going on themselves. They just know now they have found something to cope with.
Yeah.
And their body loves it. Anything we addicted to, we love. We even know if it's good or bad. Anything we addicted to, we love it.
Well, this is how the ASAM defines addiction, and they characterize it by different characteristics: inability to consistently abstain, impairment in behavioral control, craving or increased hunger for drugs or rewarding experiences, diminished recognition of problems with their behaviors and relationships, a dysfunctional emotional response. Other features of addictive behavior conditions are common and present in addiction. Your cravings and addiction behaviors are triggered by external cues. A risk of relapse after long periods of abstinence, resistance to change despite increasing problems, impaired control and judgment problems. The behavioral manifestations and complications of addiction due to impaired control can include engaging in more addictive behavior than you intended to. And that's crazy. You get yourself into something like you don't really want to, increase time lost from work, school, continued, you messed up. Continued substance use despite physical or psychological consequences.
And a lot of it results to two places. That's like the bottom of the barrel. Now you're going now you're down at the bottom of the barrel of a normal life, to trauma taking over, to now addiction taking over, to now whatever you addicted to taking over. Now you at the bottom. Now it's only really two places that's going to lead you to, and maybe three, but the third one is going this way. And the reason why it's going this way, because it may not happen. But the two down at the bottom is definitely incarceration or death. Incarceration or death. And the earlier you get addicted to these abnormal uses, the more of the prognosis of incarcerations, multiple incarcerations, or the lonely death, because it'd be a lonely death.
Wow. What do you guys think? You can chime in. Our number is 856-964 WCMD. Well, now they said that your addictive behavior repertoire, for instance, if you only drink one brand or a certain type of alcohol, I've had people bum cigarettes and stuff from me, and they look at them and say, "Oh no, it's not a Newport." That's an addiction.
I know.
That's an addiction, and seems to me like, well, you're not in the need of a cigarette if you have to be. My mom told me, you know what we was taught. We was taught beggars can't be choosers.
And not at all.
That's what we was taught.
Not at all.
I came up with, okay, thank you, and I try to deal with it if I really need it like that. But what else does it say? Lack of readiness to get help, despite your admitting that you have a problem, but you won't get help. What is that? Listen, admit you have a problem, but you don't get help.
A lot of people won't admit that they have a problem, especially because of all of the trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like the trauma, like what? Like that's taken away the most perfect thing that I have that has actually made sense. Like it actually comfort me. The one thing that makes me feel good.
What, your own problem?
Your own addiction.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
What? Because listen, I'll be over here like, what do you mean? I ain't got no problem. And I don't smoke, I don't drink.
No. The thing was, it said they already admitted that they have a problem, but they won't get help.
Right, because I know it could be a problem, but I don't want to get help for that.
Okay.
A lot
That's
of people
because you-
out there
well,
don't be
that-
wanting to get help.
That's
Listen, they'll tell
bad
you what you want to
addiction.
hear. You know how many people out there say, oh, when you go up to them, like, dang, man, like, you got to get clean, yo. Like, look where you at.
It's
They'll
because
tell
of
you.
the cognitive
Yeah,
changes, the
of
changes
course.
in your brain.
They'll tell you.
You know,
They'll tell you, man, you know, I'm going to go do it.
You're preoccupied.
Or I'm tired.
That's right. But you're preoccupied with the substance or the addictive behavior.
Exactly.
You have an altered sense of the pros and cons of addictive behavior.
Exactly.
You have a false belief that your problems are not predictable consequences of addiction. You think that your problems are coming, but your problems are coming because you're addicted to bull crap or whatever your hang up is, whatever we all got.
It's a long list.
Right, it's a long list. Addiction can cause emotional changes, you know, and the ASAM believes that emotional changes in addiction, they also include increased anxiety, dysphoria, emotional pain, situations seem more stressful than they really are, difficulty identifying and expressing your feelings.
Yep.
The reason for a new definition of addiction is, in the past, diagnosis of addiction, it's focused on outward manifestations of a person's behaviors, which can be observed and confirmed by standardized questionnaires and stuff like that, you know. But the new definition of addiction instead focuses on what's going on inside in your brain.
In your neurological processes, all starts there before the outward emotions. Remember we talked about in the seminar that you could be crossing the street and a car almost hit you and you jerked about it. And if you just let it go and it was just that one instance, that's okay. But the more you talk about it, the more you think about it, the more you elaborate on it, that you almost went through this, a traumatic experience, the more your brain starts to pick it up. Then next thing you know, you just become depressed about it. You go to sleep on it for a few days. You wake up, you're still pondering on it. Somebody else calling you about it. You're talking about it. You're reliving it over and over again to the point where now the next time you go across that street, you're going to either be scared to cross or you're going to look a few times before you cross. Then now that's another thought about it again. And it just keeps on wavering and wavering and wavering. And then next thing you know, you just come to a standstill where you either got to let it go or you just accept the trauma and then you just go through your traumas, which is the anxiety, your panic attacks. And now every time you cross the street, you're going to have anxiety. Every time you cross the street, you're going to have a panic attack. Every time you cross the street, you're going to be, you know, just tired from about to cross the street because now you're so depressed about it. So much.
Well, so the experts was hoping with this new definition that it leads to a better understanding of the disease process, which they say is biological, psychological, social, and spiritual in its manifestation. Addiction can manifest itself in many behaviors beyond substance abuse. And traditionally, people with addictions have sought and received treatment for a particular substance or behavior. This has sometimes resulted in a person substituting one addiction for another. And they call that pathological pursuit of rewards because the underlying cause was not treated.
Not treated, undiagnosed, misdiagnosed. I mean, look, people, let's just put them on paper already.
They don't even know what to talk to them, please.
You know, the sad truth is that if we look at the family dynamics, let's just start here in the city of Camden because, of course, this is where we're currently at, and this is currently where I'm from. So,
6, right?
the addictions, all of that, we face that every single day. It's so trauma from looking at people with trauma.
Yeah.
Like, you can get trauma from looking at somebody facing trauma every single day. And it's the real face of the trauma that is going down to you could kind of relate to why that person is in that state of mind. why that person is now at the bottom of the barrel into the addictions that they are in, whether it's drug addiction, whether it's like a hyperactivity that of a violence addiction, because there's some people out there that have hyperactivity of violence, like they just want to rub the pain onto somebody else, transfer that pain. That's an addiction too, because they go to jail, come back out and do it again.
Well, the ASAM suggests that comprehensive addiction treatment should focus on all active and potential substances and behaviors that could be addictive. They were careful to point out that the fact that addiction is a primary chronic brain disease does not absolve addicts from taking responsibility for their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out here doing it again or whatever you said, you know what I mean? But just as people with heart disease or diabetes, they have to take personal responsibility for maintaining their illnesses. If you have an addiction, you must also take the steps necessary to minimize your chance of relapse.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's we bring you this stuff because, we have to learn this. I'm just finding out that addiction is a chronic brain disease. The brain is altered. I'm just finding that out. And, I know a lot of people, like I said,
and there's no cure, it's only treatment.
You don't think about it when you're at the barbecue and your uncle, he drinks the whole bottle of liquor up and he's sitting there, he ain't even really drunk, but he drank the whole bottle of liquor up. That's because it takes another bottle to get him drunk, because his tolerance done went up. He's been drinking so long, he's addicted. Same with drugs, you know what I mean? Sex, things like that. Why your boyfriend cheat on you so much? Because he's we call him sex fiend, but it's psychological.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And it all comes stemming from trauma. Some trauma. Increased sexual desires is what I try to label it as, to not put it as like rape or you being so seductive or manipulative or narcissistic. So the list goes on and on about the sexual desire. You could be narcissistic, you could be manipulative, you could be a rapist, you could be a whole lot of things out of these increasing sexual desires. But it stems from trauma. So when you think that someone has like increased sexual mood, well, you need to look behind that male or female on why they have increased sexual mood. Because it definitely stems from some neurological process of trauma.
They definitely not admitting that they something's up with that. They definitely not admitting something's up with that. So, as you know, this is the Mogul Queen, with her foundation, Rare Jewel and Mogul Queen Consulting, and you can tell them a little bit about that.
All right. Well, you already know Mogul Queen. I have a nonprofit organization here in the city of Camden that launched in March of 2020. Called Rare Jewel Nonprofit Organization. We raise awareness for traumatic brain injury children related to near drowning. And also I do pool safety education and collect and distribute life jackets and give them out to children 5 and under. If your child is on a spectrum and live near the city of Camden, a life jacket can be dropped off to them personally. Also, I am CEO of MQ Consultant Agency, where I represent parents with legal documentations, implementing IEPs, 504 plans, due to their child having a mental impairment or developmental delays in the school system. Also, if your child has experienced bullying and you're not finding any results in the city of Camden or anywhere else, I am able to help you under the federal laws and the federal laws that basically represent us. I've had numerous parents this week alone that I actually assisted, and the funny part was that one of their parents wasn't even from the city of Camden. Doesn't live in the city of Camden. So when I say that I'm an international special needs advocate, I mean exactly that, because the laws that my agency follow or are under actually will cover that. It will cover the legal documentation. So what we found out too, Jenny, is that when a child is not getting the assistance that they need inside of school, because one of my parents had to call actually a special needs lawyer. I had to refer them to a special needs lawyer. We found out they're in place of negligence. So listen, my agency is really like, we doing things out here. We getting things done. If your child has been a victim of negligence inside the school system, with when it comes to the educational setting, if they're not getting the help that they need, you think you need for your child with assistance, if they do have an IEP and a 504 plan, and the school is not following the criteria, or you feel like the IEP and the 504 plan is just not working for your child, they may need to be revised again. If the school is not helping or implementing that, please call us at 856-202-7660, or you could go on the website. What is it? www.mqconsultant.info. You can email us at mqueen@mqconsultant.info. Also, if you want to get in contact with me about Rare Jewel nonprofit organization here in the city of Camden that is about to launch now this weekend at our second home in Massachusetts, Springfield, Massachusetts. March is actually Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness Month. The actual day for Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness Day is March 13th. This year it falls on a Sunday, so we're doing it on March 12th, which is a Saturday. But nonetheless, Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness Month is here. It's a big, 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 big awareness. People, y'all don't even understand how big this awareness is and can go, because traumatic brain injury can stem from traumatic brain injuries to altered brain injuries to mental impairment to altered brain matters to increase neurological function, decrease neurological functions. The mental impairment can go into a abnormal uses, which we are here to talk about today, even coming down to addictions. We're coming down to increased sexual desires. We're coming down to so much when we're learning about the traumatic brain injury, because this is all stemming from the neurological inside your mind process. Like, it's all processed in your brain first.
We might learn something and become some better people, man. We might get ourselves fixed up, because I didn't even realize nothing. You know what I mean?
Get it while it's still classical trauma.
Get it.
While it's still classical
because that's
trauma.
what we're going to be
before
doing
it become complex or chronic.
All right, so can I jump in real quick?
Yes, well, finally, here you go.
Don't even know what was we talking about.
Welcome.
So I heard about
you was listening while
traumatic trauma and addiction, the merge of it, right? And we're trying to figure out. Well, I think the conversation was about sexual desires and what comes with it, right?
It was all about addictive behaviors.
Addictive behaviors, right?
Yeah, we said about that.
So sexuality, right?
We said that,
and it's inserted and it's connected with addiction. If you have an addiction problem of drug or substance, any substance, right? So it's like, are you in a relationship, or you're by yourself and you want to do well because you believe in God or a higher power, right?
Well, that's the part they left out. I'm gonna address that in a minute. Go ahead.
Right. No. All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
So from I'm not gonna say example, but from hearing other people's stories, and it comes from stemming sexuality. Desire comes from being a child, and
that's what it said. Yes.
Yeah, and mostly it comes from the household or the neighborhood or where you was raised up in, and a lot of people in this world have been touched of some sort, and that's how they became damaged of some sort, right? So as you got older, you learn ways to cope with
the trauma,
sexual desire,
suppressing the thoughts,
trauma,
the trauma, suppressing the thoughts of how the violation that you once occurred. So it's like, how can you shake them desires? How can you shake that thought? How can you shake it, right?
You got to retrain your brain.
You got to retrain
your
brain.
Go to treatment.
Right? But still,
get diagnosed.
Who knows
going
about
to treatment?
But it's still retraining your brain. Am I not right?
Well, well, the thing is that, remember I told you that there's no cure, right. and really you have, it's like an altered brain matter. So you go into treatment for it, which is you're going to learn how to cope with it. You have to learn how to cope with what you have left of your brain.
Well, this is what they've been thinking that they've been doing this whole time. That they've been coping with, and whether they was blocking it out or not. What happened? Whether they was blocking it out or not, you would think that you was coping with it. Right. I mean, you got something in the back of your head.
Right. So it's not about just coping with it. It's about understanding how to cope with it, right?
Well, that's when you go into treatment.
But the thing about treatment is it's about identifying, first of all, the facts of that you have a problem.
Hold on, Will. Tell us who might help us with identifying it. Please tell me, because I know you've been listening for a long time. Who can be the person to help us identify these things? Who is it?
Y'all want to call in? Who?
Yeah, who can help us identify trauma, especially in the urban neighborhoods, in the inner community, and not to be misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed, because trauma is a whole different perspective. Who can help us do this?
All I know is, first of all,
come on, Mills, don't let me down.
First of all, all right, I'm gonna take it a little farther beyond that.
Come on, Mills, talk about it.
First of all, it's God, right? You gotta ask Him to help you identify your problems, right? So He can bring a human to your way to show you how to get to that solution of that problem, or suggest the facts of a solution that can help you identify your problem. Now, where to go in the physical world, you let them know.
No, Mills, I'm bringing that back to you. Come on, Mills, because you've been recording, you've been present, you've been engaging, and you can't remember who we got to go to. Or you're right. Let's not discredit God at all. Right. We can go that religious route, but not everybody's going to go that religious route, because some people were brought up so much in trauma that they never was taught about God.
They was never taught about God.
They was never taught about God because they didn't want escape. They didn't want a higher being to take them out of that trauma. Some people really won't tell you nothing religious.
But you know what?
They'll make you believe that nobody is more superior than that person that's over top of you, engaging and putting you in more of that traumatic experience. So we're going to go over and we're going to go straight to the people, that these professional people that took the time out to learn. They actually said, okay, you know what? Looking at people in these family dynamics, looking at this environment, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to become a psychologist. If I am not only going to become a psychologist, I'm going to become a trauma-focused psychologist.
Right, trauma-focused.
And so you need
or a trauma facilitator, life coach,
that deals in it.
Something like that. When it comes down to it, it could be.
I don't know what the X.
Start it again.
Yeah. I don't discover.
So we can go down all to that part right there. That's where you go at to find your resolution, to begin starting on understanding who you are as a person. And it's okay to admit your trauma, because that's the only way we're going to get to the help.
And then it said that what do you do once you admit that you have the problem? The problems, you know what I mean? So you go see a psychologist. Most people, they're not even moving on anything like that, so at least if we can get you to recognize that there is a problem, some of us can try to heal.
And if you don't know where to get a trauma-focused psychiatrist at, here in New Jersey,
psychologist or psychiatrist?
Psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, I have some from New Jersey
Does that mean that you're crazy?
No. I mean, no, none at all. I honestly believe now that I've actually been engaging in trauma now for a while, and actually even learning about myself. The disorder itself will cause you to look crazy.
Yeah.
We use that term very loosely, crazy.
Yeah,
anything outside of the ordinary.
of course, out of the normal,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Weirdo.
Yeah, you know how many times I was called crazy?
Oh my God.
And I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, I'm not going to deny it, and I'm not going to apply it, but I'm just going to say that I have been called crazy a few times.
Oh,
and
man, I've been crazy. I've been crazy.
It's just one of those situations that trauma versus trauma. Maybe my trauma was a little bit more extent than your trauma, so now I'm the crazier one. But anyway,
we gotta realize
you have to realize what you went through, and a lot of us, no matter what, we know what hurt feels like, and a lot of it comes from a hurtful place. And the only way some of us can heal is going into treatment. A lot of us can heal only going into treatment. Some people just be like, man, this everyday life, this everyday struggle, man. Why you thinking like that? Oh, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you worried about that? But everybody can't take it the same way. You know what I'm saying?
That's for you.
Everybody can't take it the same way. Everybody's mood, everybody emotional distress is different. What one hurt for, the other one don't hurt for. What one they call strong, the other person is weak. So you gotta take accountability for your own mental health. Take accountability for your own trauma. Take accountability that you want to improve your life, your quality of life, because ultimately results. And remember, we said in the seminar, you can die.
You can die.
You can die.
You can die.
You can die from being so depressed. You can die from going through so much trauma. You can die from a lack of help, lack of, just admitting.
Health reasons,
Health reason, because yes.
Sclerosis of the liver, lung cancer, all this stuff.
Exactly.
Taking a bad
I'm not going to say I don't have addictions. I smoke cigarettes and things like that. I can die.
So ultimately, you want to be the most healthiest you can be. And you can't take care of nothing going on down here if you don't take care of everything that's going on up here.
So this is what I have to say, man. To even come to that point of recognition, right, of yourself and the problems that you have with yourself, right? To come to that recognition, that point of recognition, right?
That's a plateau.
Right. But what you have to do is you have to learn that it's okay to go to somebody that has the experience, or to go to somebody that can understand and listen to you. But you know what I mean? In a professional world, it's okay to go to a rehab or recovery house and to ask and require for a one-on-one with a therapist specialist that's willing to hold your information confidential, because the things that you have in your heart and in your mind that you can't share and that you won't share but you desire to share, you can share with them people, right? Or that person, right? And then it can encourage you just as well to be able to speak to them things out loudly in the public and to the people that's in your life on a one-on-one.
But this is a person you're talking about that has training. Right?
Well, we're talking about people that don't have training
or just personal experience.
We're talking about people that's trying to figure out why they are suffering the way they are suffering. What I'm trying to tell you is to go to the people that has training, that's professional, that can help you and assist you.
That's what
by listening. So I want to give them the background. You know what I mean? So they can help you understand and identify the triggers, the lapses, the relapses, and
but they have to be willing to tell it.
They have to be willing to tell. That's the only reason to release yourself and to accept yourself is to go to somebody that's professionally that can help and require rules and instructions. But
you know how much that hurt. You know how hard that is?
It's hard.
That's the beginning right there. I tell y'all all the time, when I went into treatment, That was so hard. Oh my God. But I tell you one thing for sure and two things for certain. It relieves so much of my heart to have finally not only to be able to tell it, but to find a way to cope with it. And to be able to say, I'm actually finding my healing.
Right.
I'm finding my grounds.
Yep.
Because some things you need grounds for.
Yeah.
I'm finding what triggers me, what don't trigger me.
Right.
I'm finding who to hang around, who don't hang around.
Yeah.
I'm finding so much about me. I'm taking out time to that was my self-care, to go into treatment and find so much about me that I was now able to say, wait one moment. I was doing this because out of my trauma. I was doing this because out of my trauma. Oh my God, who am I?
That is called acting out, because it's so much that's inside of you that's building up. So you don't know how to release it and accept it and become yourself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you're acting out and then you're being rebellious because you have no information on how to be assertive as an adult and as a person.
Well, as y'all know, I went through my traumas early.
Yeah,
so I went through my trauma so early. I was growing up with my trauma, and my trauma was making me be this person that of course, my brain was altered, so I didn't even notice that I wasn't supposed to be like that.
Right.
I wasn't supposed to be this person. This was making me feel so normal.
Right.
Yeah, even some of my trauma would hurt me. Like, why did I do that?
Right.
Like, oh my God, now I'm upset about being upset.
Where it stems from.
You know?
So it's like, if you can take your child early, man, as a child to a professional therapist, and encourage your child also to open up to that person, even though they don't want to open up to you because of the fear or the thoughts they may have. But if you can encourage your child now, and even in the programs, when they get shipped off to residential programs, if you can even have the courtesy to talk to a overseer in them programs and let them people know, like, yo, listen, to the staff members, my child need more one-on-ones, or my child need group therapies because of the things that they are dealing with. And then
a lot of parents don't even know how to identify trauma, because remember, I'm over at JJC too.
How do they identify trauma?
JJC only, and you can testify to this, only is going to look at the criminal side of you.
But you gotta
They're not going to
why.
look at the trauma side of you. That's what I'm fighting for now, because they need to look at the family dynamics.
Right.
Where the environment, where did this stem from? A child, if I tell you right now to think of something bad, you're going to think of 1,001 ways of how could you have thought about something bad.
Right.
But if I tell you to think about something good, you automatically just releases something good.
Right.
Your mind doesn't automatically go to something bad unless it's punctured to keep on going to that bad place. What made that child get a criminal activity or be criminally active at such a young age is trauma.
But the main question is, what made that child? What made that child? And you got to ask that question. What made you? Don't try to think about what made that child, right? I ain't talking about you. I'm just talking about in general, right? As a parent or a friend, you want to ask that question. What made you? It's all about you. And the question is, what made you? And you gotta let that child answer.
But how about if the child's parent grew up in the same trauma and they don't think nothing of it? Like, man, like some parents really think that it's okay for a child to basically run around her with illegal weapons.
Well, this is for the child to understand now.
But the child not going to understand, because that's in the family dynamics of the home.
Well, since we have,
we have this
platform
that's normal.
Now, so we can tell the kids now, if you're feeling like, if you see that you're out of control, you're doing your negative thoughts and your negative feelings are more stronger than the positive thoughts and the positive feelings that you're dealing with, then you need to talk to an adult about what are you feeling at that moment, and what did you feel in the past that allowed you to start these bad ways of acting. Mm-hmm. So if the child don't know how to identify, but the parent do, or the parent don't know how to identify and the child don't know how, it's up to somebody to understand. So I prefer for the child to understand how to eliminate the things that they're going through, but so they can take the initiative to get themselves better if nobody else is helping them.
Yes.
Well, a child can't really get themselves together because they looking at their environment, right?
13, 12, 10 years old.
But this is my whole thing here
They're not
too.
responsible for this.
Right. This is my whole thing too, Mills. Come on. Let's think about that. Exactly. They are responsible for homelessness.
When children are.
But now my trauma is focused me being on me being homeless. Right, nothing more.
All right, 5 minutes. Ready?
We have to implement stuff. We have to implement at the JJC for them to do these questionnaires, have this family dynamic.
Let us know if you can hear us. All right. We're wrapping up here. We got a guest coming.
Yes.
Let's
do it.
Let me introduce you to. This is Melly Mel. We have Mogul Queen, Janika Quinones. She has a. Go ahead, tell them what you do.
I'm Janika Quinones. I have a nonprofit organization called Rare Jewel Nonprofit Organization, raising awareness for traumatic brain injury children related to near drowning. I also have a consultant agency called MQ Consultant Agency, where we help children in the educational setting by adjusting and implementing the IEPs or 504 plans. On behalf of the parents. Also, what else? We also help with bullying, and all of this is under federal laws. So we basically help out with the parents of anything that has to do with federal laws in the school system.
Yes. Hey, Melly Mel.
All right. And of course, you know Mills Young. I'm Janny Schmanny. Nice to meet you. We had a discussion today. I'm not sure if you were listening in or not on addictive personality and how it ties in with brain trauma and brain disorders. So we're learning a lot. I'm strictly textbook. She's the authority over there on brain trauma.
And I'm the foot soldier.
And he, I guess he is. So you have the floor now, Melly. See if we can hear you.
Okay. Here we go.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Peace, family. I'm Melly Mel, right? I'd like to begin with acknowledging the unseen.
All right.
Ashe. And I want to start with my brother Mills. Love you, man. You know.
Love you too, brother.
We met through recovery. You know, what I like to first let me start with me. On this Sunday, the 13th, will make 7 years for me without putting any mood or mind altering substance in my body. Right? And, what a wonderful thing to. I'm a very intelligent brother, conscious brother, sharp brother, but for decades to walk around and not understand that there was something weighing me down, and it was so heavy that it felt natural. So what a relief, man, when that thing was just taken off your shoulders, right? And you get a new perspective. Little bit about me. I'm 53. My first 12 years of my life was in the Bronx. I was conceived in the Dominican Republic, right? I'm fortunate. I'm one of them brothers. I have a high regard and respect for our sisters. I've been with one woman for 28 years, right? My wife and I have been together 28 years. And I've always understood the divinity in the female. You know, I'm one of them cats, man. I get high. I take that shit back to Atlantis. You know, I take this shit off the planet. You know, today, when I go to Newark, right before the pandemic, I would go to Newark, or I would go to New Brunswick, or I would go to Trenton. Today is to engage recovery. Back then in the 90s, it was to attend Black History lectures. You know, Dr. John Henrik Clark, Dr. Ben, Molefi Keti Asante, Dr. Molefi Asante from Temple University, who coined the concept of Afrocentricity. You know, that's always had, that resonated more with me than being in the club. You know, and from my first 12 years was in the Bronx, right? And um, my mama raised three boys, and you know how nice it is that I could really say there was no trauma and no drama. We didn't have one bad. I got to sit with my. I'm the oldest. I got to sit with my brother who's 18 months younger, and the baby who's 9 years younger, and we got to sit recently and a couple of years ago, and I said, "Yeah, I need to ask you a serious question. Turn the game off. Can y'all remember one bad day with mom? Can you remember one bad day with mom?" And we couldn't. You want to talk about the personification, the embodiment of class, grace, and dignity, um, welfare, projects, um, and come to understand, how that will leave such a lasting impression. Because when people look at me and be like, "You in recovery?" Absolutely. I had a brother with 17 years clean say to me, "You smoke crack?" Until the fucking pipe exploded. Absolutely, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Man.
So to be like, what happened? Like what happened? And when I tell you, listen, from the Black history, then in the 2000s, I got into the metaphysics. The Dr. Phil Valentine, the Bobby Hemmets, all of that stuff. That just always grabbed my attention. Higher levels of consciousness to be fully grounded. Mills, foot soldier. To be a
Yeah.
foot soldier. To be able to go stand on the block. And at the same time go have a conversation with a person with letters in front and behind their names, right? To have, to be swift and changeable, right?
Mm.
Swift and changeable.
That's
And
really
Strong.
and to understand like what happened, and to study so many things. Listen, behind me, just crazy. Um, we study Black history every February, right? But I like to ask people what you know about Dr. Carter G. Woodson, and people say absolutely nothing, right? The second brother, the second melanated man to get a PhD from Harvard, and he wrote this book called The Miseducation of the Negro in the 30s. And 80% of that book, and 80% of that book is still relevant today. And it reads that when you control a person's thinking, right, you control how they live. You no longer need physical constraints. The mental constraints will suffice. And listen, there's a word called synchronicity, right? Which means coincidences. The brother who I just talked about, who said to me, with 17 years clean from Newark, "You smoke crack?" He just called me. And we ain't spoke in months, right? So again, to understand the power of words. Like for example, I don't greet people with hello. Absolutely not. This is not our language, right? Hell is low, right? We're not even understanding the power of the subconscious mind, the deep mind, right? The spirit mind. So I always greet people with peace, good day, little things like that make a difference because we don't really understand. Like to be a physical slave is one thing, right? Because at least I'm a slave. I want to get out. But to
conscious.
be a mental and spiritual slave, and not have a clue that you enslaved, and to fall in love with the enslavement, that's a whole level of sickness, right? So I'm grateful, right, to go through my experience, right? Because I understand, right? Let me take that this is the deadest I'll ever be. You know what I'm saying? Like we come from a rich. I used to get high and say, let me tap into our shit. How do we get down before the pilgrims, pirates, and plunderers bopped us in the head and disoriented us, right? And listen, no disrespect to anyone in any way, shape, or form. But I remember coming across again. We got athletes. We got this. Let's talk about a black sociologist. A
Well,
black.
can I
Come on.
ask a question in between there? Okay, so you're thinking about all this stuff as you was getting high. Was this things that you thought about before you got addicted to drugs? Like,
Yes.
or was this part of your
Yes.
addiction to study?
I did this one time, right? Mills, I thought I could control it.
Mhm.
I used to have 2 full-time jobs, right? And I would be off Friday by 4 o'clock. So I would have all Friday evening off, all Saturday, and then go back Sunday. Right. And I said, listen, this cocaine is tearing my ass out the frame. I'm starting to feel my nose might have a hole in it, deviated septum. So I said, let me control it. Right. So it was Misgiving, so-called Thanksgiving. And I said, I'm not going to get high this weekend. I got like a 4 or 5 day weekend. I'm not going to get high. And the next time I got high was February. And when I hit that first line, first thing, go grab a book. Go grab a study.
Wow.
Right. But I've always been, it's see, it's hard to put things into words when language don't. So listen, imagine you have a lake of insight, and you got a little straw for it to come out of. That's how I feel sometimes. I don't come in to dazzle anybody. I don't come to the when people meet me, right? They could feel me, and they could feel there's nothing, right? There's nothing. Real simple. My religion is kindness, and God is love. Simple. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. God is love, so I'm not looking in the sky, right? If I can't look in your eyes and see divinity in you, right, I'm confused, no matter what's going on with you, right? And my religion is kindness, right? The word nice, and I learned through recovery. Check out the word nice. It's not a language. When you break the word nice down, it means ignorant, foolish, and stupid. Right? So I learned today not to be nice, right? Because nice will get you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? When someone is showing me who they are, today I believe them. And I love them afar, right? I'm going to still treat them with kindness, right? Because little things like that I wish. I worked in the worst school district in Monmouth County, New Jersey for about 20 years, right? Never had any issues. I loved it. And then at night, at 3 o'clock, I would report to my other job, the Juvenile Justice Commission. The young men would come from the state prison, the juvenile state prison. They would be in a program, right? And I wish today that we would teach spiritual principles. Spiritual principles. The power in spiritual principles. Listen, my gig today, I work for this corporation where we get a lot of members who come from behind the wall, and we help them get reentry into society, right? And it's so wonderful, man, when you could connect. Listen, there was a book way back called Cool Pose, right? And what this book talks about is that brothers like Mills, see, what I love about the brother is he keeps it 100, authenticity. Yeah, I'm hurt. I'm fucked up. I need help, right? But what Cool Pose would talk about from a black sociologist, that we got to put on this front. Like, it's not cool to talk about, I'm hurt. I'm in pain. Why is it that we could stand on the corner and talk about Biggie and Tupac, right? And LeBron and Jordan, right? But we can't talk about, yo, I'm hurt. I really love this young lady, right? I don't want to treat her like y'all taught me to treat them, right? Because the minute that they break up our families, we done, man. We done. Let me tell you about, listen, I remember I come home, my house smelled like skunks in my house. Both of my sons, right? I felt like I lived with Bob Marley and Snoop Doggy Dogg, right? But guess what? Mills.
Yes.
I ain't touching that shit. Right? There's alcohol in my house, right? Right. So today, man, to be able to walk the land, imagine you really thinking you seeing, but you're not seeing, you really blind. And through spiritual principles, you get to really see. My wife was just diagnosed with stage 1 and stage 2 breast cancer. Before recovery, before having a program, before understanding principles, right? I'd be fucked up, right? I'd be fucked up. I want to fix, manage, and control. And listen, yeah, I'm gonna keep it 100. I come upstairs, she got a Coca-Cola on the bed. Now again, this type of shit. 1930s, there's a brother named Dr. Otto, a Caucasian, Warburn. He proved, he won a Nobel Prize for proving no cancer can live in an alkaline environment. Now I get to understand why they killed Dr. Sebi, right?
Yeah, they
Now I
killed him.
understand, right? Because I'm not allowing anybody to alter my divine DNA. Absolutely not, right? But you know what it feels like? Like you got a key to unlock a door, right? And it's right in your pocket, but your pocket is sealed shut. I can't reach in my pocket and give it to my wife and say, babe, you're feeding the cancer, right? Starve the cancer, right? And guess what I got to do? Practice the recovery. And guess what? I got to surrender, right? Which means today, relax, right? And that ain't cool to talk about surrendering. What? Listen, at 17 years old, right out of high school, I was in the Army. I'm an old soldier, right? Show me in the history of America that we surrendered. You can't.
Never did.
From the streets. Surrender? You got to live with that the rest of your life? Absolutely not.
That's weakness.
Right? That's weakness, right? And here in recovery, there's great power in surrender. But the initial surrender has to be, I give up. I give up putting that poison in my body that fucks me. And I check this out. Two things, right? I'm in the 90s, high as a kite, and I come across Black sociology. You said, you want to know you in a bad neighborhood? Look out for two things. And please, I'm not here to offend anyone. But look out for two things. Number one, a liquor store to keep you physically intoxicated. And number two, a church to keep you spiritually intoxicated. And what I did is I went through my community and I did a tally to see how many liquor stores and churches, and then asked the question, why is our community still in shambles? Right? The word alcohol comes from the Arabic word alcohol, where we get the word ghoul from, which means flesh-eating spirit. Right? So when I would travel, right, and walk, and it says spirits, they were correct. You know what they left out? That they were malevolent spirits, that they were lower energy parasitic spirits. Right? So the same way that today, what I struggle with is food and cheese, right, is the new dope for me, right? Because it has the same pathway, the neural, right? Because we as a people, not only can we not talk about how we hurt, right? We can also say, yo, listen, man, you're gaining too much weight, brother. Be easy with that. I don't want you to die of diabetes. See, listen, these are some of the groups that I grew up on, that I continue. Number one, first and foremost, KRS-One. First and foremost, they got a new album out that came out last week. Most people don't know about. Because my diet, right, consists of more than what I eat through my mouth. Right? The five senses are the five thieves. Check this out. I touch something, physical. I see something, it touches the retina, sends a message to the brain, touch. I smell something, the scent touches the olfactory nerve, sends a message to the brain, oh, it smells like strawberries, touch, right? I taste something, taste buds, touch. Now, hearing, the tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? No, it makes air vibration. That's where the air vibration hits the ear canal that gets transferred, right? It's a sound. The five are one, right? Touch. You know where I learned that from? Studying traditional Chinese science, right? The movie came out last year, Shang-Chi, right? Shang-Chi, the Marvel movie. Check this out. The Shang are the connection from Africa, because the first Chinese look like Yah. And Qi is the spirit energy that runs through us, right? So when we talk about we're spiritual people, we really don't know how little that is. It's a nice hoodie. It's a nice hat. But I need to come out of it and leave it behind. Well, guess what, y'all? The same thing with that.
right? A couple of things we don't do as a people. We don't practice meditation. We never learn to be still and just breathe. The word spirit means to breathe. Inspiration, respiration, perspiration, desperation. My spirit is trying to leave. Hence the power of us having hope. Hope, Mills, that no matter what happens, right? I don't got to run to poison, to something that's been killing me, right? That I can face it and lean on my brothers and my sisters so that as a community we can through it. Listen, my clean date is Friday the 13th of March 2015, right?
Right.
It's not by accident.
Wow, congratulations.
You know why 13 is unlucky?
Unlucky?
That's what they say. Because when you do the signs 0 to 9, right, everything breaks down 11, 22, and 33. But 1 and 3 is 4. When you get 4, you get a fort. That's where 4 comes from. But that's an individual fort. 13, imagine us collectively as a community guarding our square. They won't be able to fuck with us, right? When the policy enforcers, right, police policy. How many people know that? Police policy. And when they walk up, just say, I will exercise my Fifth Amendment right to be silent. Don't say a motherfucking word. Don't say a motherfucking word. Pull out your phone and record. Again, right? Imagine we sat down as a people, right? And collectively just sat around, don't say a word. Because I had a brother that called me today with 17 years clean, right? And right in front of his house, he's Taino, right? Because listen, Puerto Rico, you can't be a rich port, right? That's what Puerto Rico means, right? So I don't mess with that stuff. We are Taino. A Taino brother was snatched in front of it with 17 years clean, coming as an executive chef, pulled out of his car by the jump out boys, right? Slammed to the ground, humiliated in a white neighborhood, in a Caucasian neighborhood, right? And I was saying to him, brother, you know, I don't answer any questions, no disrespect, and I will exercise my right, my Fifth Amendment right, to be silent. That's it, right? There's a book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu, right?
Yeah.
Right? How to defeat your enemy, which your real enemy is your lower enemy. When I think I got to beef with somebody, it's a reflection of what's going on with me. That's why the key text says clean and serene, right? You can't buy serenity, right? Peace and serenity. What's peace? Right? I'm at peace, but my peace can be disturbed. But when I have serenity, that's sustained peace. It's an unshakable. It comes from the inside. It's like steel wrapped in cotton. You soft on the outside. On the inside, can't be moved. Can't be budged. Right? So listen, man.
Wow.
So, question. So where did you discover and how did you discover when you had addiction or addiction became too much and overwhelming for what you were doing in life?
The lighthouse moment.
When it became my God. Check this out. I worked at the school, right? I'm a paraprofessional. I'm a teacher aide, right? They loved me and respected me so much I had keys to the vice principal's office, right? I could take a student, write them up, the VP would just sign it. But me having keys, I would go in the VP's office and sniff a bag of dope, right?
In school,
right? That was the pain I was doing. Listen, I got a 24-year-old son who's got to go lay behind his wall, right? My mama raised 3 boys, no trauma, no drama, right? I love my wife loves me, right? But we don't talk about relationships, right? How the Grand Canyon cannot encapsulate the gap in our relationship, right? I said, hey, babe, I'm going on a spiritual journey. Take my hand. She said, it's not my cup of tea. I prefer coffee. Got to respect that, right? But the gap just got greater and greater and greater, right? One thing it doesn't give me an excuse is to step out on my marriage, right? And the same way Mills came into my life, right? While he was at sea, you know, and the sharks were tearing his ass up and we got him on shore.
and sometimes he wants to go back in the shark-infested waters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They keep tearing that ass up, right, Mills? But we like,
Yes,
come here.
yes, they do.
It's the same thing with our sisters. You know how nice it is, man, when you could take your sisters and love and respect your sisters, and you got eyes like any other man,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you love God more, right?
Right.
Right? And you love, right, your integrity more, right, than to come and use someone, right? And for some people, like, oh, who he think he is, miss me with that shit. Miss me with that shit.
He is so funny.
That's right.
He
This
is so
was
funny.
good. He's-
Malcolm X
he's
is
real
my
though.
hero.
Keeping it real.
PRS-One, my hero, right? My 24-year-old son, he was born on May 19, which is Malcolm X's degree day.
Yeah.
His little brother was born on November 22nd, misgiving, and that was John F. Kennedy's assassination. We as a people never pay attention, right, to these so-called coincidences, right? And check this out, y'all. We got 12 original DNA strands. We only use 3% of that, right? I'm excited at what's happening. People scared. Listen, when the pandemic began, people was hitting me up. Melly, they ain't laughing at you now. They don't think, because I would always say to them, they want to talk about Tupac, whatever. I would say, listen, brother, sister, get yourself enough water, get yourself enough food, get yourself enough supplies, and get your intestinal fortitude up. Just in case. Because this wretchedness that we're living through, it's got time. It's got time. 1619 was the first slave ship came to America. 2019, oh shoot, 400 years is up. Do the knowledge, right? So I'm giddy than a motherfucker, no matter what comes down the pipe, right? So even with all that, even with everything going on, I would still be like, yo, who can I help, right? Who can reach out and help? Because disease, how many people die a day?
A lot.
A lot. And
A
it's very
lot.
preventable and treatable, right? But guess what? Dr. Doolittle can't write me a prescription for it. The priest, the imam, and the rabbi can't pray it away. Those things may enhance what's already there, but ain't nothing like a member who knows the path. Imagine me going to Camden and I don't know my way through Camden, right? And you give me a map. You say, here's the map, Melly. And I take the map and I throw it in the garbage. I don't need it. How's going to be my experience in Camden? Rough, to say the least, right?
Yes.
To say the least. So it's nice to come and have where people have found a way out, or should I say they found a way in, right? Because that's where the key is. Stop looking outside for contentment. When you can't find it, when you come to the realization, bring it back home. Learn to sit with self, right? So anyway, man, Mills hit me up. I like to fight in the gut.
Actually, one more question. You have any questions? But this question I want is towards traumatic brain brain injury, right? Injury, right? How do you relate traumatic brain injury with addiction? And we're talking about from day one of what occurred in your life to when you started using and it started spiraling.
He said nothing. He said there was no trauma in his life. He couldn't remember not one time we had trauma growing up.
Well,
with his mom.
what about even up to the point of using?
Environmental trauma.
My trauma began in my marriage, right? Okay. When I married into a highly dysfunctional family, right? And with a mother-in-law who is still sick and suffering, right? With a brother-in-law who just came home from laying down for 4.5 years, right? With a litany, right? And you love them, but that pattern, has seeped into, and that's the pain. You can help everybody else, but you can't help your own sons.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you're seeing this Frankenstein monster being born at 13, right? And you're saying to your wife, babe, you keep babying these boys, we may have to bury these boys, right? And And in April 2020, I got a rude awakening knocking on the door, and they snatched my son up. They had him outside with some serious charges, y'all. Serious weapons. That's not how I raised him. Right? So that's where it came, the pain that you can't communicate with your life partner. And I like to share this, right? Listen, y'all, I ain't dissing my wife. Don't let's not get that twisted. I wear Crocs, right? Because I wouldn't be able to tie my shoes without my wife. Let me make that clear. Right? But imagine feeling like you're married to Miss MOGUL and you live in the Twilight Zone. Try to fathom that. And everywhere you go, a number of peace, love, and respect. Everywhere you go. People, that's a wise brother. That's a good brother. I could trust my lady with that brother. I could trust my baby with
like that sometimes.
Exactly.
Like sometimes you know, people can be so cold and you represent like the best of things and they know it. You know what I mean? Nobody's perfect because obviously you slipped one or two times. You know what I mean? So like don't base like you know me. Okay, you've been knowing me. What'd you say? You was married for 28 years?
Yep.
28?
We've been together 28 years.
I've been listening. 28 years. 28 years, you know me. Okay? And you get mad at one little thing and then everything's over, gone. I'm somebody else. You're somebody else. Like, that's trauma all in itself. You know what I mean? Which can change a person. You know what I mean? And it really does. You know what I mean? To see that somebody is going to think other than you than what you are, and you're not doing anything but showing the love that you always show. You
That's
know,
my hit. That's my hit, my sister. Thank you.
that's the
I
hit.
came here today
I heard your story.
to hear that.
I heard your story.
I came
I
here
heard you got
today.
it.
I
That's
came here
what I do.
Look at him. He came
to
here
hear that.
to hear that.
That's right.
That's it.
And I'm glad to have you, Mel. I'm glad I met
Yes.
you. And this is not the last time that we're gonna talk.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. No.
No. It's not the last time we're gonna talk. We all going through something, so we need
Yeah, so the thing,
everybody together.
so the other topic was just to finalize substance abuse and trauma. It's the coping method. Um, what brought you to the point of coping and understanding how to cope and understanding coping and relaxing in coping,
That's the
and
hard
then
part.
be able to share how you cope and how you learned it. What was your moment?
Well, number one, can nobody do what we do, those who are in recovery, the way we do it? That's first and foremost. To have somebody that Mills, right, can get in a chat at 2 a.m. and say, hey, y'all, I'm out here and it's dangerous and I feel like I'm drowning, right? And nobody says, I ain't fucking with this joker right now. You fucking up my shit, right? And we reach out. So that's how we able to cope, man. When you know that you got real people who care and love you, you know, who care and love you, man. Listen, I was in Philly. I go to Philly on Thursdays. And I
Oh, you
do
didn't tell me that.
a book study. Yeah, we do a book study, right?
Yeah.
I'll be there next Thursday.
I'm come down.
One of the readings was talking about unspeakable trauma, right? And one of the brothers, right, from Philly, he talked about brothers that he grew up with that he was supposed to trust because the package wasn't right, right? They basically kidnapped him and duct tied him. Luckily, they duct tied him in the front, right? And he was able to break free and jump out the window. Now, this was 30 some years ago. And you could feel the trauma still in him, right? That these are men that he was, or brothers that he was supposed to trust, right? And then just to think about the mental enslavement, right? Listen, what I love about recovery, I've seen people, right, go through the most heinous things where the first thing is we killing the whole family. The first thought.
See, that's the
killing the whole family.
That's part of it. That's part of the whole thing.
We throwing the babies off the roof. That's how we start some Nat Turner shit, right? But in recovery, They pause. Say, I'm gonna do something different. Yo, it's mind blowing. And that's why I said that I wish we as a people, right? We as a people that teach ourselves in our community, right? Because I go back to Jehu the Damager, right? Ain't the devil happy? Brother killing brother. Now that's insane. Going out like Abel and Cain, right? Poor righteous teachers, right? X-Clan, right? That's what fed my spirit, and that got me to the. And at the same time, I never try to be more than I am. I never try to be better. Mills knows firsthand.
Yeah.
I never say, listen, man, I got a lot on my plate all the time, right? Right? To understand that we are equal. I may not like what some people do, but that don't stop me from loving them. When I work with one of these educators, right? Miss Snorton, she was from the South, right? And she would say, Mills, you're making it real hard for me to love you right now.
I heard that before.
The way she put it, right? Not, you ain't nothing, blah, blah, blah. You're going to, those are the scars. And that's one thing that I will always learn.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, right? By seeing others. Like, I'm very empathetic, right? When you open up, when you meditate and you open up, you understand. See, those five senses are one. But when you take those five senses like a submarine and you go in, right? And you go in, and you go in, right? When you come back out, other things open, like intuition, right? Like empathy, right? Like understanding. You bypass the rational. Boom, right? Coherence. That heart to heart, right? Where you can love someone. Well, you're not going to kill someone because they stepped on your red bottoms. Are you crazy? So anyway, listen, man.
Yeah, that was real.
That's what we try to do, deal with these type of issues here, at the podcast. If, like we said, if we could just, save one life, but you know what I mean? We making a dent in it, you know what I mean? I know we can't save the whole world, you know what I mean? But somebody could hear us.
Like one person.
Somebody could hear us.
Two people.
When you just said that, right? It took me back to a story that there's two people and they see all these starfish, right? Now, they need to get in the water. And he's like, yo, it's too many of them. They're not gonna, and you can't make a difference. And the person grabbed one, threw it in the ocean, said, I made a difference to that one.
Yeah, to that one.
One person. So
that one. He was dried up, starfish need to be in the water. Right.
So so what I was also wondering was what kind of encouragement or what kind of suggestions that can help guide someone at a young age or older age or somebody that has no idea of what, how, who, what, when, how, and where to do in trauma. Say that. In the trauma situation and substance abuse.
But we have to understand, we all suffer from trauma because we're at war and we've been at war. Right? We've been at war. We don't know, what are we? Oh, listen, it's 2022. We're in the age of information. Are we black? Where's black at? Are we African American? Where's African American at? I know Mexicans come from Mexico. I know Canadians come from Canada. Right?
They won't let us be.
Where do we come from, right? Right, so that's number one. So just think about I don't want to go over that with a minimum concern. When grandma said you got some Blackfoot in you, well, grandma was almost 100% right. You are Blackfoot. But anyway, I don't want to go into that. So just to show you how deep the trauma is, that we don't imagine a cat being brainwashed and believing it's a dog, right? And the cat can kill the meanest pit bull. That's a bad cat, but yet the cat wants to bark, it wants to eat dog food, and wants to roll in a pack. You be like, there's something wrong with that cat, even though it can kill the meanest pit bull, right? Because it's not living in accordance with its nature, right? So we also, number one, how bad do you want it? Because we talk about desire, right? You could pray over someone. And one thing I've learned, right? through experience is not to want something more for someone than they want it for themselves. Right? I'm going to match your willingness. I'm going to help you, right?
You just caught me on that.
Yeah. And John
Say that
Coltrane,
again. Not to want what?
not to want something more than another person, right? Because then I'm getting in their way from them learning, right? I will match your willingness because then what's happening is, right, is weighing me and is knocking me off my square, right?
There you go.
I will match your willingness. John Coltrane, right? He has a beautiful
Came
song
here for
called
that.
"A Love Supreme," right? This is a jazz. Listen, for some reason, that's just the
I
way I
know
was built,
Coltrane.
right? I read Miles Davis' autobiography with I was about 20 years old. I was the only one. I couldn't have a conversation with nobody, right? But John Coltrane wrote this beautiful song called "A Love Supreme," right? But his wife, Alice Coltrane, she did a metaphysical version of it. And she had this yogi master on it. And he said, love, 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 right? That when you do something, don't even wait for a thank you. Just do it. I open up the door, they don't say nothing. Oh, they did that. Oh, why did I open up the door? Because I did the next right thing for the right reason.
Yes. Right.
So it was all those little tidbits, right? That little by little. Listen, y'all walk around with Crocs, a scruffy ass beard, sweatpants. I don't need no Bedebucci. I don't need no Girigichi. I don't need no right? I need none of that stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the greatest thing that we have is a soul, right? Everything has a spirit. A cockroach has a spirit, but not everything has a soul. Go look up how much melanin is per gram. It's more than gold. It's more than anything. And melanin is the God juice. There's a guy named Dr. Richard King. Think of him as the Michael Jordan of melanin, right? That's why they kill us the way they kill us, right? Because they take and extract those and take it to other places, right? But anyway, for me, like I said, man, it's just like a freaking lake with a little straw to get it out of. I'd just like to be quiet and to be like, who can I help? Because I come to learn that life is about the river doesn't provide the water for itself. The river doesn't drink its own water. No. The apple tree doesn't eat the apple, right?
Everything has a purpose to provide.
To serve, right? To be of service.
To serve,
right?
Exactly.
And to serve, right, with a posture from the heart, not keeping tabs. Hey, Mills, I did this for you and did that for you. Remember when I did that? Or the mask came off.
Right.
The whole time I was doing something, I was keeping count. That's not non-cipher. Emphatically non-cipher. That's not how we live.
Right.
The good guy.
Right. Yeah. Can I ask you one more question, right? If you had the opportunity to meet somebody famous or somebody that you desired, who it is and why?
Well, I'm gonna give you a couple. I'm gonna give you a couple.
That's unorthodox. That's not an attended script. Wait,
yeah,
it's a good
one. There's a guy named Lao Tzu, right? Tao, the Tao. Behind the Bible, the second most translated book on the planet is a book called the Tao Te Ching, which is the way of virtuous power, right? And they call him the old sage. He wrote this book, 81 verses. And it basically says that the Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao, but yet it goes on for 80 more verses. What the hell does that mean, right? And it basically studies nature. And what I love about it is that he describes nature as the feminine, right? So I would love to and listen, to keep it 100, I know I lived on Wu Dang Mountain with Lao Tzu, right? Because when we come in Japan, right? If you go back and look at the old 90s Highlander TV series, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? And you see, like, something happens and it triggers a memory when he was in another life.
Always.
What we don't understand is the power of the soul. Now, listen, motherfuckers be like, yo, he crazy. What he talking about? He ain't talking about MC, whatever the fuck, rapper, bucker. He ain't talking about no fuck. No, listen. There's levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying? There's levels to this.
Definitely.
Who are we? Right? The greatest is the who are you? You are a piece of God. And when you understand that and you live your life like irrespective of external, irrespective of the paper, the monopoly paper you got in your. If you ever take out money and you look at it, it's the same colors as monopoly money. Most people don't know that. The
Mm.
five got the pink, the 10 got the green, the blue. Oh, it's same colors, right? Because what we got is greater than any of that stuff, right? So I'm grateful that I always knew that, and I love our peoples, right? You got Dominicans, right, who despise the Haitians, and that rips my heart. That rips my heart, right?
Why?
Really an input.
Stuff.
Yeah. So Lao Tzu, Malcolm X. Listen, Malcolm X never went to college. He never lost a debate. He taught the motherfuckers out the frame. There's a book called Malcolm Speeches at Harvard. He tore their asses out the frame.
So why you choose these people?
Well, because that's what the universe. Those are the people who awoke me, right? Again, I got a shrine in my basement just to El Haj Malik Al-Shabazz to Malcolm X. My son was born on Malcolm X's degree day. That's not by accident, right? And how
Right.
Malcolm went from being in addiction to raising yourself up. He didn't do it through the rooms, but he did it through his religion, right? Because there's many ways to get home, right? So a man like that who was so powerful, right? Who was so powerful. I met KRS-One a few times. I love him. You know, his lectures, his books. I just wish we as a people would be mindful of what we absorb. I don't listen, and listen, I'm gonna keep it. I don't listen to Hot Shit 97, Non-Power. I don't even know the stations. I don't put that shit in my ears, right? I don't put that shit in my ears, right? The same way I don't dine on swine, I don't let that shit in my ears because I understand the subconscious mind, right? You have a conscious mind, which is your five senses. You got a subconscious mind, which you're not even aware of it. Then you have a super conscious mind, right? That's the connect. Imagine a stream. That's the conscious mind. The stream goes into the river. That's the subconscious mind. The river dumps into the ocean. That's the superconscious mind. That's the God mind, right? So I understood early that we were at war. When PE came out with Fight the Power, right? When we were going to college, right? Black colleges, instead of going to strip clubs in the early 90s, they put that shit to rest. They said, let's go ahead and feed NWA and start that whole nonsense. So when I know better, I do better, right? I can't engage in that stuff. Don't mean I'm better than anybody, but I know I can't engage in that stuff.
So how do you fight the thoughts? Like it was a topic earlier about your thoughts. You fighting your thoughts about what's happening. You was on a group today. Um, Fighting your own thoughts about, am I good enough? Should I do this? Should I be with my kids? I haven't seen my kids in 30 years. Should I still help them? Do they like me? Or is this job? When you find your own thoughts that's telling you to do the wrong thing versus the right thing, now how do you know, work
Ready?
that out
You
to
ready?
get to the right? Yeah.
Check this out. HARA, right? Horror, right? There's a spot, right? Listen, this we have three brains. Most people don't know that. This is the brain that gets me fucked up, right? You got the heart brain, then you got the gut brain, right? Where the navel is. I used to wonder, right? There's martial arts that the first thing you do is not learn how to punch and kick. You go sit your ass down and teach you how to be still and how to breathe, right? God, I found in the GUT. God, I found in the GUT. So I don't fight my thoughts. I let them die a natural death. Because the more that I persist, the more that I resist, the more that it will persist. So I've learned to surrender, to just listen, right? And again, simple, right? Simple. Whatever I do, it does not so much as right or wrong, but am I loving as I'm doing it? right? I no longer, part of what led me almost drown inside a bag of drugs, right?
Mhm.
I couldn't reach my 24, my son who's 24 now, I couldn't reach him. And I used to say all kinds of crazy, I hope you die, you're a piece of shit. You know, if I show up to the service, I wouldn't even show up to the services, and if I did, I would spit in your mother. Yo, crazy shit. That's how feared up I was. Because the last thing any parent wants to do is outlive their child. You don't. I can't think of no greater hell than having to bury your child. That's not natural.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that was my fear, right? So today, I don't do all of that. He would be talking all crazy. It was like, listen, like iron spirit kung fu, right? When you had iron body, they would hit you with something, bang, and it shit would hurt, right? But after a while, the shit don't hurt. Well, once they say something, I would just be like that and just breathe and take it to a meeting and share about. I want to grab his mother by his neck and throw him off the roof, right? So I can get it out of me, but I wouldn't do it. And guess what happened little by little? Remember I told you if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, does it make a sound? No, it makes air vibration.
Right.
Well, as he was doing all of that, I wasn't even there. I was there physically, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, I was deep inside, right, like a submarine. He don't talk to me like that anymore. This program, the program that I practice today, right? That's how powerful spiritual principles are. To surrender physically means relax. Acceptance, it is what it is, Melly. You got no power to change nobody. All that Bill Cosby shit back in the day, I brought you in this while I take you out, shit almost killed me.
Wow.
It shit almost killed me.
That's right. It shit will almost kill you. Look at that bullshit ain't reality. So do you teach anywhere now? Like if like somebody wanted to like
I I
counsel or
I stay low. Listen, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I believe in my heart, right, that we can relive through Exodus, right? The 400
so
years.
shit. It's so shit. If nobody don't know you, they can't talk to you and get none of these gems.
No, no, but listen, Miles got my math, but my thing is like right now, like right now, right? Right now. Listen, news, the RZA dropped this back in the 90s. News, north, east, west, south. So
Yeah.
I'm mindful of what I get from them, right? But what I do watch is the 6:30 news, right? So I get to see they playing chess and the masses are playing marbles, right? So I grabbed the book of Enoch off the shelf. Now I'm playing Enochian chess,
Mm.
right? So I just sit in the cut. I got to be here for my wife, as she goes through, walk through that, be home for my children. I used to be all over the place making meetings. Today, I could jump on virtually, get fed, help somebody, right? Stay alive, right? Grow
Yes.
better, right? But most
Yeah.
importantly, today, I stay in position for my family. Listen,
So
I'm fortunate. My
Grateful to
house,
have you.
my house is literally across the street from my mama's. We live on a one-way street.
So Melly Mel,
With grateful.
what's the
Very
message for
grateful.
the day? And we will talk to you again. So, what's the message for today? Thank you, Melly Mel. I enjoyed the atmosphere that you brought. It was a strong and perfect lesson for this moment for somebody.
For me,
You
because I
know,
think that what he said, the reason why he came in is the reason why I came as well. Because we both got to understand it, you know. I guess maybe you look for somebody to understand where you come from. I'm looking for somebody to understand where I'm coming
mm,
from. And you said some things today that enlightened my world. Like, I don't know you that good. We can't talk about it right
yeah,
now, but
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And another thing is, Ms. Mogul, she's doing some things about trauma, brain injury, and
Mhm.
everything else. And she's from Jersey just as well as she's from Jersey. I think this will be a great connection to
Mhm.
help build the brands that we're all going
Right.
towards. So I would like to, keep this unity, and we'll
Here you
talk to you
come,
soon.
man.
Yeah. So give us a word for the day that can help and bless those that's listening.
The most powerful force is love. Love self and then love others. And if I can't love myself, let me love another so they can teach me to love myself. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you so much, man. Now keep in touch. Stay in touch.
Melly Mel,
We
people.
about to
Thank
wrap
you.
it
Thank
up
you.
out of
Thank
here.
you, Jersey
That was
Finest. Let's
great, Melly
go.
Mel, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, but where can we find you on Facebook?
How can we find you, Mel? Or your incorporation?
Mills got my math. He could put
All
my
right,
I'll talk to
we
you.
will what
All right.
we do through Mills, okay?
We'll take care of that.
yeah. Peace and love, y'all. Love y'all.
All right, I love you. Bye bye. That was so nice. He's a great
Yes.
soul.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a great soul doing good things for the community and all that reaches people. I don't think he's actually doing it out of love, because he definitely is not doing it like an agency or whatever. You know what I mean? Mostly, I think that it has to do with his own, his own personal stuff, and how he has to do his life. You know what I mean? Rather than give everything. Right now, it seems like he can't give everything to someone. He has a lot to give.
Right.
You know what I mean? He has a lot to give, and it seems like right now, with his situations, that he can't really give a lot to whatever, but he gave us a lot today.
And he's going through a lot of personal. He's going through a lot of personal pain with his family, and the main.
He's been living with a lot of personal pain with his family.
And he's being strong through it, and he's not picking up a drug or alcohol to cope with his pain.
And that's what the things that we want to learn here. You know what I mean? We want to learn how to deal with whatever we got going on. Whatever we have to deal with,
and that's why he said it's not good to hold it in. To which he made a valid point. He's gonna talk about it because you don't want to hold it in. Like that's starting over another trauma, and the fact that the point being was he never had to cope with anything because nothing in his life was out of the ordinary for him to cope with. He didn't have them family dynamics that most of us have inside the environment and dealing with. He didn't grow up with trauma.
Right.
So the first time he faced on trauma, it just basically did that impact. Like we always talk about, it impacted his brain. Gave him that altered brain matter. Now, altered brain matter and mental impairment. And then after he went in mental impairment, he picked up an abnormal use. And then his abnormal use gave him what he coped with a long time until he figured, because of his mental state still led him out of it. He was still in the educational world. He was still basically still head on a right way because the trauma he didn't grow up with it. Right. So he was still consciously aware that something went wrong.
He had been learning the whole way.
Right. So he was able to go find that help. He was right. He was already, 17 years old in the military. So he has a lot of like dynamics, but they're not family issues. They were environmental issues.
But then it became family issues.
And then it became family issues because trauma can be transferred to the next person. Yeah. So the trauma that he got into somebody else's family dynamics. Yeah. He coming out of a household that had no family dynamics, went into somebody else's household, and they're whirlwinding. Like, wait, what's going on? No, don't do that. He loved her so much. He didn't want her to drown on her own, that it took him down too. So we learned that, sometimes we go down even deeper with somebody else's trauma.
And trauma don't come early. It can come late. It can come when it comes.
Well, it's classical. Remember, we learned the classical, the complex, the chronic. We learned a lot of that, and we learned that a lot of people don't even have trauma, PTSD. Yeah. They can have bipolar. They can be schizophrenic. It could be more things than just PTSD. So, he also found a great outlet, which he found another addiction. Mm-hmm. And if we weren't aware of that, we actually should be aware of that. And his addiction now is that he's searching for information. He clouds his brain with a lot of information. Yeah, he makes sure that he's never caught lacking again.
So you can take your
but the way I think about if that's a new addiction for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was a new addiction. I think it's been a part of his life for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's good because he knows how to use it. You know what I mean?
Right, to keep himself
So
together, like aligned.
Use it exactly what you said. Keeping yourself aligned, using it to his advantage. You know what I mean? He knows that he has a condition, but if I do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I admire him.
Yeah, so it's all about, man, knowing that, pain comes and goes, knowing that troubles will happen in your life, and it's about acceptance, and it's about pouring out what you're feeling and sharing what you're feeling regardless of your certain situations. And don't worry about coping with drugs and alcohol or the things that would take you off square. Stay on the script.
And what I want to say is, before we go, a lot of us, have loved ones and stuff out here, or people that we care about much, going through things, you know what I mean? And then don't ever want people to think that you don't understand what they're going through. Maybe you're going through something yourself and you just can't see it, or you can't deal with it at certain times, Let's take, for example, Melly Mel. We want to talk to him some more, but he's not really wanting to like give himself all to everybody and just be available.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody is not mentally or physically available to deal with every problem or your problem. Sometimes the person that's been the strongest in your life break down too. They break down.
Sometimes you gotta take it to a professional.
And if you don't get this now, you will get this later on. As you recap this video, you will get it.
And when you recoup.
And just like Nazia says, the greatest thing of things is love.
Love.
And you don't want to act like nothing was never there. If you have you had love, it's always gonna
Shout out to Nazia. Nazia Istelin. She is the founder of Saving Grace Ministries here in the city of Camden.
Wow.
Not only is she a pastor, she's a life coach, she's a trauma facilitator, and the list goes on and on and on. Right. And also she has a program for children on Tuesday, starting on March 24th, I believe, where she actually teaches children how to cope with trauma and how to cope with trauma. And a lot of these children that come to her program have parents that have been murdered, come from all type of family dynamics. So, of course, her treatment is always and first and foremost is love. Secondly, she teaches them how to cope with it, and then she gives them a safe haven, somewhere where it's a safe place. And then she also has on Thursday, starting soon too, called Healing Hearts, where she takes adults and she teaches them how to heal and how to basically cope with their family dynamics and situations that had happened to them in the past.
What's up, man?
So her name is Nazia Easterlin on Facebook. Her organization is called Saving Grace Ministries. She also has a podcast that I was a feature on called Saved by Grace. She brings a lot to the platform, so definitely check her out. She definitely is someone that understands pain very well, because her and her organization started with her ex-husband being murdered here in the city of Camden, and when she rolled up on him, he was riddled with bullets. She's talking from a point in a place where she had experienced trauma.
Right, man.
We need her in here.
Yeah.
We need you. Show what you got and let the people know what you got.
We need her in here.
So
we need her strength and her story.
I'm actually on her board.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm on her board. I'm the juvenile care coordinator for her organization.
We need to visit her organization as well.
Yeah.
And show her support.
Right?
Absolutely.
But our time has expired, so we're about to get up out of here, guys. Yeah. You make sure that you recap this on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the web on the Comfort Level Podcast, WCMD Media. You can find us anywhere. WCMD, folks.
Let's go.
All right. And we're out of here.
Thank you. Change your life. Let's go, baby.